Okay, so I'm here with Jesse, who is a co-founder of Magnum Electric Bikes. And, you know, we came up here on sort of a wild goose chase because I've been to Salt Lake City, Utah. This is where their headquarters are a couple times. And this place is just amazing. Look at it. It's beautiful. The backdrop, the mountains, it's such a beautiful place. Natural History Museum, really cool stuff. And I was like, Jesse, do you think we could find that place?
We finally got here. It took a minute.
We got here. High five, buddy.
We did it.
Awesome. And you know, so today I've been looking at the Premium from Magnum. This is like a higher end folding electric bike from you guys. And before we were looking at the Classic, a little bit more affordable. Do you remember the price point? I think this one's like $18.99.
This is $18.99 versus the $12.99.
$12.99. There's a bit of a jump, but I'm going to try to explain why and just go through this thing with you guys. You know, I've reviewed a bunch of folding electric bikes, and it seems like they're good for people who maybe have a boat or in an SUV. We took your SUV to get up here.
We did.
We fit both bikes in the back with room to spare.
We could have maybe fit even three just in the trunk without even folding the back seat down. So yeah.
That's awesome. And you know, the thing about that is, you know, one of the call outs before I even get in here, no quick release on either wheel. But then again, you've got these nice aluminum fenders, and sometimes when you do quick release, the fenders get all bent up, and then again, the whole thing folds. And so I don't want to beat that point to death. I thought it was really interesting that this bike tends to be a little bit like tougher by design. The wheels aren't going to come loose as easily. It's not going to get stolen as easily if you park outside. And they're not going to you don't have to worry about spokes getting bent and coming out of true. This is cast aluminum. Sometimes people call these mag wheels, but I don't know if they're actually magnesium in this case, but they blend in really nicely, black. And speaking of colors, it comes in several different colors. So this one's like gloss white with blue accents, and there's also kind of a matte black with blue accents, and I think there's black and orange and white and orange too. So, you know,
exactly.
Quite a few color combos to choose from, which is neat. Also, two different frame types. So this is actually my favorite. This is like the deep step through. In Europe, sometimes they call it like a wave. You can come to this thing and just like boop, and you're like right over it, no problem, easy to get on. And I think that's key because, you know, this does have a rack. And depending on how you're using it, like if you got a little day pack back here, a little trunk bag, and maybe a pannier on the side, you don't get quite the height of like full-size bicycle racks because these are 20-inch wheels. They're not 26 or 29. But I think it's still a very capable rack, and it says max weight 25 kilograms. That's about 55 pounds. You got the spring latch here. We've even got lights. I love that it has lights on the front and the back, and that you've got reflective sidewall stripes on the tire. This color is also going to be more reflective, so if you're someone who's kind of safety oriented like me, yeah, this would be a good color.
Always the helmet.
Always got the helmet on. But the thing about the lights is they're independently operated, so 2 AA's in the rear, 2 AA's up front. They should last a long time. It's like an LED, but you have to push them on separately. So it's like you come to the bike, you're like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, turn the battery on, step 4, turn the thing. And then when you park, you know, let's say that you work over here at like the Red Butte Gardens or the Natural History Museum and you're like late to work, just don't forget to turn off those lights so that you're safe on the way home. You got to remember that. Some of the other upgrades on this bike is a better suspension fork. So RST Carve definitely got more travel here. I estimated like 60 millimeter just in the ride-up. We do have preload adjustments there, which is kind of nice. And then we've even got a seat post suspension. So I love that. 27.2 millimeter diameter. You could replace it with something that's better, but this works okay, especially over time. It kind of gets, you break it in a little bit. And check out the saddle. It's called the Look-In from Sully Royale, because you can look inside. Inside the saddle, there's like gel in there. Even got bumpers on the back and a flip up. So if you need to pull that battery off, you totally can. It's real easy without taking the seat completely off the bike. And notice how the collar is tilted to the side, and so is the slit in the seat tube. They do that so that when you clamp it down, this quick release clamp doesn't collide with the battery pack and scratch it and stuff. That's something, these are like the really good attention to details that I feel like Magnum has while still offering some value bikes. Again, this one costs more, but the big reason is because it's got a 500 watt internally geared hub motor in the back, along with a 48 volt 13 amp hour battery. And that's huge, and that's part of what increases the weight on this one. It does weigh a little bit more than the other one. And in fact, the battery itself is 9 pounds. So if you're folding this up and you're pulling that battery off, it's going to help you a lot to load it in the car. But again, just the cast aluminum wheels, the suspension fork, the seat post, there's a lot here that improves comfort, but there is the trade-off. I wanted to call out that some of the cables are internally routed, which is nice. There's actually a spring in the middle here that kind of helps it during the folding and unfolding. This is the cadence sensor, and it's also sort of internalized. You don't have a big disc with magnets exposed to getting kicked or getting dirty. It's all right inside there, and they're very responsive. I've been asking the technicians back at the shop, like, how many magnets? They're like, well, we could break one open, but I don't think, I mean, it's at least 12. It's very responsive as far as cadence sensors go, and I like that, because you could be in the position of just moving your legs, just to relax and get out there, shifting gears easily. You don't have to push the same way that you do with torque sensing bikes, and to me that's pretty cool. So yeah, I think this is about 63.1 pounds, or maybe it's 61.3.
I think it was 61.3.
61.3. Thank you.
Yeah.
So whereas the other one, it's like in the 54 range. So you pay a price for the more power, but boy, is this thing more powerful. I was able to get it to 25 miles per hour. So it's like, technically it's a speed pedelec, and frankly, I'm glad I have my helmet on, and you probably wouldn't want to go too much faster than that, just given the smaller wheel size. It did feel comfortable to me. It felt pretty safe. There's a locking pin right here at the mid fold point. There's also a lock here. I like that the stem telescopes, it goes up a little bit higher, but you'll notice it stretches the cables, and so then your steering can be a little limited, and just be conscious of that. You might think, oh, I want it all the way, and then you maybe don't go quite all the way. Seat post is also a little bit longer. What I'm trying to say is, you can get pretty full leg extension. I'm 5'9", I'm an average size dude, and I guess it's kind of nice to be able to get onto a folding bike and not feel like you're sacrificing too much in the way of comfort or even pedaling performance. 7 gears it's enough for getting around town. Even hitting those higher top speeds, it was decent. The derailleur is pretty basic. This is Shimano Tourney. It's kind of the entry level, but it's still Shimano. 11 to 32 on the rear cassette, and then I believe it's 52 teeth up here, and that's larger than a normal chainring. And the reason they do that is to kind of balance out the smaller wheels. If they had a smaller chainring with the smaller wheels, you'd be like, struggling to keep up. And this is pretty common on folding bikes. I wouldn't expect any different from something that's a little more quality like this. You've got kind of a sandwich going on here, aluminum alloy, kind of a guide, so you're not going to lose that chain as easily if you are just operating in throttle mode going over bumpy terrain. That's pretty common on electric bikes. The chain falls off. Nice to have that here. Also at the bottom, you've got the little support arm, so if you're folding this thing, you're not going to bang that up as much and chew up the teeth and just things like that. The pedals are all right. They're plastic. They flex a little bit more than, like, there are aluminum alloy versions, but then they weigh more, and I think they are still trying to hit a value price point. So they poured the money into, like, yeah, we have lights, yeah, we have the racks and everything, but really it's the power and the strength of the wheels, and the fact that it comes in those 2 different frame configurations, which I may not have finished mentioning, that the other one's more of a mid step, and maybe that's kind of like the guy version or something. I mean, the fact that these come in a bunch of different colors, you can totally do a his and her and still get that step through performance. Also, a couple times I've ridden these bikes before, the folding bikes, where you're standing over it, or I was with my girlfriend at the time, and she kind of bumped her leg on that latch because it does bulge out a little bit more. I feel like it's fairly compact, and being lower, there's less likelihood that you're going to hit your thigh unless you're really short or something. So I like that. I feel like it's a worthy trade-off. I was moving the pedal a minute ago, and it was colliding with the kickstand down here. That's one of my other little complaints. I mean, there's a mounting bracket right there. It'd be nice if that's where the kickstand was mounted, but maybe it's in the middle to support the added weight of the battery pack, because that really is where most of the weight is. You can charge the pack on or off the bike. This is the charging port. It's got a little LED indicator. You do have to leave the key in while riding, and for me that's always been a bit of a complaint, because it's like it could jingle around if you have a keychain going on. I usually take all the keys off and then just leave the key in, and in this case your legs are mostly up here, so I don't think you're going to bang into it, and it's about security. And this is it's kind of a more generic battery casing, but it's a good one. It's aluminum, it's pretty strong, it slides on pretty easily, on and off. And by doing that, by using a more generic case, I think they're able to save some money. And frankly, the fact that they tied it in a little bit, some of the color matching is nice. It's nice that it's not just a big silver thing that doesn't match anything. That's, you know, a good plus. And check it out. USB, like a 5-volt female charging port. Okay, I missed that when I was looking at the other bike. I was like, oh, no USB. I haven't used it myself a whole lot. But on the other hand, if you have a little bag back here, like a little trunk bag, and you've got a USB here, you could do like a 90-degree adapter from Amazon, and you could charge your phone, you could charge your iPod, you could charge your whatever. I love that. And speaking of chargers, this is what it looks like. Check this thing out. It's like 1.5 pounds, 2 amps, really small. The bike, when you get it new, it comes with some tools and everything, and I think this one actually has sort of the metal end, so it's pretty tough. If you step on it or drop it or something, it should hold up. It's 2 amps, so I think they estimate 6.5 hours for a full charge. That's because the battery capacity is much higher on this, so you're going to take a little bit longer to get it filled, but I think you're going to get good range, especially if you pedal with the bike and if you use pedal assist. Now that's the other really interesting fun part to explore on this bike. I was going to jump in. I think the only other thing would be the grips here. This is, ergonomic. They're the stitched kind. Gives you something a little bit bigger to hold on to, and I like that. And the grips too, or the brake levers. These are Tektro, so it's definitely an upgrade. They both have motor inhibitors, so as soon as you activate those, the motor's you're not going to be fighting that 48 volts of power. You're cutting all the power. A little bit of a rubberized edge, and oh yeah, we got the bell. We got the bell worked in. I really appreciate that. I might have skipped the brakes. These are mechanical 160 millimeter Tektro Novella, front and rear. The other bike that they sell, the Classic, doesn't have a rear disc brake, so the braking isn't going to be maybe quite as powerful. This is a nice upgrade, and they really don't take too much space, so you can still reach the controls here. You can still reach relatively. This is the one area. There's a little bit of a stretch going on here to get to the throttle. But not bad. Again, the fact that it has a throttle. So we're down here, we've turned it to on with the keys. Come up here, press the power button, and you can see the display coming to life. It's not removable, but it is a really nice looking display, and it's somewhat compact actually, and it angles, adjustable angle. You can pivot sort of forward and back. We've got a bunch of settings in here. I really like this display because it gives you 6 levels of pedal assist and 3 levels of power. Okay, so you can actually try to extend your range and maybe reduce the amperage that's flowing on this. By the way, I think this has 9 MOSFETs in their controller, so it's able to handle a little bit more power, as well as maybe peaking out at 14 amps versus like kind of 10 on some of the other ones. So that's the 36 volt versus the 48. You really do get extra power. So anyway, being able to control the extra power is nice too, to extend your range. In the middle, we have speed set to miles per hour. And then down here, it's really easy to go through with the set button. We got trip 1, trip 2, time, odometer, kind of everything. Over here, voltage, and then 5 ticks on the battery infographic. I'd like that to be more like percentage because it's more accurate, or precise, I guess is the right word. But that's standard. That's something you see on a lot of bikes. And then just plus or minus, literally. And I think, what is it, power button? That goes, yeah, the power button does the backlighting. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes you're riding at night and you want to see the display. And what do you have any favorite things about this display, Jesse?
People really love that it's going to show you your BMS right there. I think you kind of hit on. And then, of course, the upgrade from the other display we oftentimes use, and you hit this as well, the 3 levels. If you want to get more range, set it down to economy rather than power, and you're going to see that.
Okay.
It's really nice.
I think we get in there by holding the set, and then there's some options.
Yep.
It's a fairly open system. And the BMS, I guess I should back up there. So I'm complaining about only 5 ticks on the battery, but you do have voltage, and over time you can sort of learn this voltage means full, this voltage means less full. So it's a little bit, there's more tinkering, but I actually think that's what a lot of these systems use to measure percentage. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
You're right on.
That's pretty sweet. I think we've gone through that. I talked about how it can be swiveled a little bit. We've got the cockpit looking good. The only thing is, a lot of these bikes are water resistant and stuff, but if I was parking at a rack, just trying to kind of keep that nicer. And again, it's a folding bike. Maybe you bring it in with you. So I might just hop on this thing and show you how responsive the pedal assist is real quick. Okay, we're on a road here. We specifically chose this place because the parking lot's pretty empty, and you end up really zipping on this bike. So I'm gonna go down to 6. It's cool that it goes around like that. And then we're gonna do pedal assist. Whoa, boy. Hey, pretty responsive and pretty zippy. Like you probably saw, as soon as I started pedaling, it kicked in right away. But if you're someone who's maybe heavier or you have a big load, that trigger throttle overrides at full power. So you really don't need to worry about messing around and being distracted with the display. You just come over here and you press this and off you go. And I like that. Woo! So I think the full speed with throttle operation on this is around 20. But then assisted, it does go up a little bit higher, and that's technically, it's kind of in between. It's not like a full speed pedelec where you're hitting like 28, but 25, like I said, is pretty impressive on its own. Try to go over some bumpy stuff. That upright body position I was talking about before. Really not having to lean forward or down too much, and for me that's a big deal, just comfort wise, my back and neck. Also, I just like this suspension fork works so much better than the other one. There's a lot more comfort, and I guess the handlebars also seem a little bit straighter. Sometimes these handlebars are angled off a little bit, and this one's just aligned super well. Jesse, would you mind hopping on this thing? And
absolutely. How
much do you weigh?
I weigh 235 pounds.
230.
6 foot 3 inches. I'm a big guy,
Is there a max weight on this thing, or?
How dare you ask me that weight for it?
This is a great example because it's a capable,
Yeah, it's gonna be right around 240 pounds is what we've set the the official max weight. And doesn't mean it's not going to support you if you're bigger, but we have to cap it somewhere and still maintain the warranty. So
yeah,
at 240 pounds, we feel like that's a good enough weight. And but it does have a lot of power.
Well, again, if you're the person who's a little bit larger, you need the extra power, but you want the ease of getting on. It's neat that this step-through frame can actually accommodate a little bit more. So I'm gonna just jog around. You don't have a helmet, so be careful. Just be safe. I just wanted to show what it looks like.
Yes. All right, here we go.
Looking good. There he goes. Nice.
Test. Keeping up with me, huh?
Yeah, and good job with the brake test. Yeah, I like the disc brakes. They're just a little easier to pull. I think that's it, man. We covered it, yeah? Okay, guys, we're back at the car. This is the other bike. We got the Classic already stowed. I thought this was a great opportunity, kind of an important point to mention. We were gonna break this down so many times. I just dive right in and I start, doing stuff. And then you hit that throttle button and the wheel goes flying. Just be careful with that. I don't want to see someone get hurt. Jesse offered to help me go through these steps. So I think the first step is just to turn off the display up here. I guess you have to hold it for a couple seconds. Then down here, turn off the battery. You can go all the way to open if you want, and that would allow you to slide it off. Do you want to take the battery off, or you're a strong guy, you don't need to?
We don't really need to be honest, so yeah, we'll just leave it on there for now.
He's told me he likes to take the seat completely off, so maybe that's next. And then it's just out of the way completely, and you keep it nice, stick it there somewhere in the trunk. Mm-hmm. What do you do next here?
I usually will bring down the post.
Cool. Yep.
To its lowest position.
Got that locking pin on the other buckle. That's what I was talking about before. Really nice to have those backup systems so you don't end up flailing. Cool.
And then we'll go right here.
Oh yeah, love that. We got the pedals that fold. Pretty nice. And then the middle part. On the last bike, Jesse pointed out to me that not only is this like a quick release latch, but you actually have to pull it up. See, so there's a pin right there. That was key, man. Thank you for pointing that out.
You can see that spring there too.
That's the spring, yeah. That's cool. I haven't really seen that on a lot of other bikes. And from here, this is where the metal thing comes in, and you kick the kickstand. It's kind of a free-for-all at this point. You just pick it up. And this has the handle too, right? Yeah.
The handle right here. It actually does help a lot when maneuvering this thing into the trunk.
Okay. Well, you're doing a great job. Nice.
And we're done.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for joining us on this little adventure and getting the good views. Jesse, thank you so much
for problem. Thank you.
Helping me out. It's nice to get the official word on this, like the weight specs and everything, and to have a little help reviewing. I've recorded like reach, standover height, all the other details that I could find back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Of course, please chime in if you have any feedback or questions. And I guess as always, ride safe.